Okay, so welcome along, everyone. Glad to see you here for this webinar. It's really all about how can we effectively lead teams? What do we need to do? Particularly, what do we need to focus on from our own perspective as well? How do I change myself? What does it take to be an effective leader? And for that, we have Shane to talk to us about it. I'd like to introduce him. He is a good friend of mine for many years. He has, for many decades, been working, running, and managing teams in IT and so forth. And he has worked as a director of Agile Alliance in the 2010s, shall we say, still involved with the Agile Alliance and so forth. He has worked for IC Agile as IC Agile. He is a IC Agile registered professional coach and so forth. He is currently working for SoftEd, for software education, and part of the skills group as the global delivery lead, essentially managing delivery for all the trainers in New Zealand and around the world. So let's not waste any more time. I'd really like to introduce him. So hand it over to you, Shane, now.
Well, thank you very much. No lai haere mai, kora tātou, ko Shane Hastie tēnei. Welcome, folks. Thank you so much for coming along to our webinar today. Leading self, leading with agility. So I'm going to do the blatant place commercial here. Yes, this is based around a new training course that SoftEd has recently launched. It is an IC Agile accredited course meeting the certification needs and the requirements of the ICP LEA. So this class is, as it says, leading yourself and leading with agility. So some of the key things, some of the topics that that we will cover today, and that the course goes much deeper into, is what are the leadership capabilities we need today, and somewhat of the why behind that. What are the behaviors that will increase agility? How do we develop ourselves as an instrument to engage and support others? How do we develop ourselves as leaders? Looking at emotional intelligence, particularly in that the social intelligence aspects of that, engaging in key conversations, supporting organizational transformation, and leading that change and transformation. So the material, the course, the whole focus is about how do we lead ourselves, and a starting point of that is, what is agile leadership? It's the leadership that we need in the 21st century. It's the stepping beyond the Taylorism of the 20th century. It's stepping beyond the ideas that the leader has to have all of the answers, that they must be the most intelligent person in the room. In fact, as a leader today, I want to be the one who knows the least in the room. I want my people, my team, to be the ones that bring the value. And David Marquet's quote here: "The work we do is cognitive." And the structures that were designed and developed in the 20th century don't work fundamentally. So leaders need to change, need to step up. And if we think of leadership over time, and we look back in history of how the work has changed, and with that, leadership has needed to change. So back prior to the Industrial Revolution, the era of the cottage industry, the individual customization, leadership was the craftsperson Then we moved in with the Industrial Revolution into the factory model, and that was very much Taylorism, Taylor's work in particular, looking at management science and that. Moving beyond that through the 50s, 60s, 70s, transactional, but now the things that we need in our organizations are more complex. The era of innovation and mass personalization and growing at scale, the capabilities of the new economies require a completely different type of leadership, and this has been called transformational leadership. There's adaptive leadership. There are a number of different messages around that, but leadership has to evolve. Our organizations are radically different today, and the work of the Future Organization, looking at these 14 characteristics and principles. We're globally distributed, but we tend to have smaller teams. We've figured out that the unit of value delivery very much is the team. Dare I say, the era of the lone wolf specialist doesn't work. So how do we support our teams more effectively? This connected workforce, large organizations operating like small companies, the intrapreneurial, so bringing that innovation inside, adapting to change faster, going beyond just meeting needs, the basics, and really focusing on what our customers want. Innovation runs in the cloud. The demographics of our organization changing. We're certainly seeing many more women in more senior leadership roles, and acceptance of diversity. And we've recognized the value of diverse leadership and diverse workforces bringing more innovative solutions. We tend to see flatter structures. We communicate in stories, not in decrees. The democratizing learning, the learning organization, stepping and looking beyond the focus on purely on profit, and stepping out to this broader, wider prosperity for society, for the world, for our stakeholders. Stakeholder capitalism, not shareholder capitalism. And constantly adapting to the needs of the future employee and manager, and being able to adapt. So our organizations are changing, our leadership must change. The adaptive leadership model that looks at how well are we positioned, and I'm going to say that in the class we have some deep conversations about how do we cope dealing with the elephants in the room. Is it safe in our organization to really tackle the hard questions? Do we value people for the skill, the judgment, the knowledge that they bring? And it's okay to disagree with the boss. How do we share responsibilities so that it's not everything has to go to the leader, to the boss, to the manager. It's people are, and here's an important term, people feel empowered. And we can say, and I've seen this in organizations, you are empowered. But when something doesn't work, what did you do? And the blame. But true empowerment comes when people feel safe to take that empowerment, to make decisions, and to know that there is safety, that, yeah, we will make mistakes, but we will learn, we will adapt, we'll keep the blast radius of those mistakes small, and we'll use those mistakes to learn and adapt. And that culture of reflection and continuous learning, building in the time and the space to reflect upon how we are doing. So it's not just we're working and we're busy. It's we pause and we find ways to, it's the hackneyed phrase, to work smarter, to work more effectively. And to do that, we have to actually build slack into our system. We build that time in. And as a leader, I'm holding the space for all of this to happen. And these are new skills. These are different skills to what has traditionally been considered as the skills of leadership and the traits of adaptive leadership in terms of competencies and behaviors. So it's important to have the competencies to be able to look at the world from a systems perspective, a systems thinking perspective, to build relationships, to show up with courage, but then the behaviors also step up. And it's the behaviors that are visible. The way we behave is what people will see in their leaders. And that's vitally important. I might have the mindset, but am I showing up in the right way? And again, we're all going to make mistakes. This, for many of our leaders, this is a culture shift. This is a significant adaptation and change in the way that they've been trained to behave. So putting these behaviors into practice is hard, and it's personal change. And that's why the course is called Leading Self. We also explore, and we need to look at how we build influence without authority, because leadership is not something that is only restricted to the people at the top of some hierarchy. Leadership shows up at every level in the organization. If we think of teams as the unit of value delivery, leadership in those teams needs to be constantly adapting and evolving. In a self-organized, collaborative team environment, leadership in the moment will change based on what do the rest of the team need from me right now. And that ability to influence without formal authority, where we're in that community of peers. How do I support? How do I bring and build relationships, understand the ecosystem, and then show up with expertise? We're in these cross-functional, self-organizing, collaborative teams because we bring expertise, but we're also comfortable to step outside of our narrow skill set and do what the team needs of us. And that's a really important power of leadership at every level. And it's discerning what is needed. We also need to think about how, if the team is that unit of delivery, well, how do teams evolve? What happens as teams evolve? And really important, how do I as a leader step up and support teams as they go through? And this is Tuckman's model of form, storm, norm, perform, adjourn. But there are a number of different models of team formation that we explore. But the key thing is, how do I change as a leader? What are the behaviors that I need to adapt? What do these teams need from me? based around where they are in their team maturity. So that, again, adaptive leadership. And what is our culture? What is the culture that I want to engender in the organization, in the parts of the organization I have influence over? And we talk about culture as the sum total of the behaviors, what gets rewarded and what gets punished. What are the things, the unwritten rules? Well, how do we make that culture, performance, highly cooperative, supportive, risk-taking, effective culture? So that moving towards that performance-oriented environment. And there's a lot to digging and personal exploration. But how do I help? And that culture shift, it's not tools. It's creating that open environment of sharing, innovation, collaboration. And again, the emphasis on the leader as holding the space for the organizational change and being the model. Be the change you want to see in the world. We're all, I hope, by now familiar with the fixed and growth mindset. Harold Dweck's work is well entrenched and well understood, and we know the need for the growth mindset. When we step into this adaptive leadership, into the self-management, the self-leadership, we really want to step into the deeper level of the benefit mindset, which is, it sits on top of a growth mindset. You can't have a benefit mindset without having a growth mindset. And then we look at how do we not just support the learning of ourselves and the safety, we can do better, but how do we make a difference in the world? Modern organizations have to step into showing up, making a difference in the world. Leaders have to step into showing up, making a difference in the world. Our customers require this of us. Our shareholders and stakeholders require this of us. Our employees require this of us. Bringing that benefit mindset and making it real with our organization. And exploring the know myself element is really important. This is a brief introduction to this concept of the Johari window that I would encourage you to think about. What are the panes in this window? Look at what is open, what is known by you and known by others. How big is that of your life? What is hidden, what is known by you and unknown by others? The things that we want to keep silent and quiet. Where are my blind spots? And how do I get feedback about those? And then we have the unknown unknowns that there are things driving my behavior, my attitudes that I'm not able to grasp as to why and what's going on inside me for them. And the idea with mindfulness and self-reflection is to find ways to open up that top left-hand corner, to make what is known to me, known to others. Make it transparent, make it visible, be vulnerable. And that mindfulness and emotional maturity that comes with this. And we talk about the mindful leader and doing the work of becoming more effective as a human being, and through that becoming more effective as a leader. So the mindful practices, and we actually do in the class, we will go into some mindfulness practices. Do you have a journaling habit? Do you have a meditation habit? How do you step out of the rush of the day into pausing, stopping, reflecting? So again, bringing that reflective practice and having a clear understanding of your ikigai, the place of your heart, the space where you are thoroughly aligned, what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. If you can step into that space of the ikigai, and how do I, as a leader, hold that space for other people to give them that opportunity? And again, that leader is at whatever level in the organization, but how do I help people identify what they are good at? How do we collaboratively explore what the world needs? How do you find what you love? And oh, by the way, we need to get paid for this. We have to be realistic. But if we can step into that ikigai, it really makes a difference in terms of our own satisfaction and the people around us. So one of the metrics for organizations today is employee engagement and satisfaction. Well, if I've got people who are working with passion on a mission, a vocation, or profession, that they're aligned thoroughly, well, we're going to make a huge difference in the world, and they're going to be engaged and committed. We explore our viewpoints. How can I challenge my viewpoints? How can I step into the viewpoint of somebody else? And this little image of context is king, perspective is everything. Is that a 6? Is it a 9? What is the view that you are taking? And how do I, with empathy, step into somebody else's shoes to see the world from their perspectives? And then see from my perspective and bridge the difference. We challenge our mental model. We deliberately open up our I could be wrong. We're humble and vulnerable. Just because I'm a leader does not mean I'm always right. And stepping into that space, again, creates better outcomes for everyone. And the strong social and relationship management aspects of emotional intelligence, stepping into those right-hand quadrants. But to do that, I have to first be self-aware and have good self-management. I cannot bring deep empathy if I don't have emotional self-awareness. I cannot bring that service orientation unless I have self-confidence. I cannot influence others unless I can control myself. I don't inspire others unless I am trustworthy and conscientious. And creating that space of teamwork. Because again, the team is the unit of value delivery in our organizations today. And great leadership empowers great teams. The organization system, looking at systems thinking. The people, the technology, the processes all come together. What are the implications? What are the seeing the big picture and communicating that? Understanding again the drivers of people. Seeing what's on the surface and being able to explore down for myself and with my colleagues, with my teams, diving below the surface. It again builds empathy, creates trust, builds teamwork. And we can get to a point where we truly can transform ourselves and support others as they transform our thinking into ways that are going to be more effective. Breaking the causal loop of blame and truly stepping into an empathic leadership position. Acknowledge that mistakes will happen. Removing the fear and stepping into innovation and problem solving rather than spiraling and not getting the best outcomes. The blame culture destroys innovation, destroys safety in any organization. So as the leader here, how do I show up? And sometimes I'm going to fall over. When a mistake is made, that my response becomes, what can we learn from this? What was in our system that allowed this mistake to happen versus who did this? Who can we blame? And stepping away from that blame and showing up with curiosity, which enables people to feel courageous and be safe. Looking at the way that we interact, being able to analyze communication flows and see what's actually going on. Be part of a conversation, but also be conscious of what is happening around that conversation, the meta thinking. And dialogic leadership is one of the keys there. It's very much about the system thinking. It's being able to challenge disagree without disrupting. It's recognizing the flow and interaction and leveraging that for better communication and better outcomes. And as a leader, digging deep into my own emotional intelligence and looking at the benefits that this gives our organizations. Very much about collaboration, bringing people on the journey. Ask, not tell, invitation over imposition in order to truly allow, again, teams and people that we work with to own the outcomes. And as a leader, I need to become a good storyteller. Understand the 7 basic plots. How do I communicate an inspirational story that brings people on a journey with me, rather than giving them a set of decrees about what they must do? How do we communicate through stories? And how do we lead change, create the vision, inspire the motivation, carry this forward? And how do I support true transformation in our organizations? This image comes from Hastie, and we delve deeply into it in the class. But if you consider generally in organizations, change is about hitting one of those layers. We'll have a restructure and we'll change the structure. Well, that's moved something out. We'll change some processes. We'll adopt an agile way of working, for instance. And culture sits as an elastic band around these 5 layers. And if you push something out, what happens is, if the rest have not moved, if the other 4 layers haven't moved, your elastic band of culture will bounce you back. Now you can, and leading change through putting pressure, but transformational leadership shifts the culture one little piece at a time, and in conjunction with that, we can shift the leadership, the strategy, the structure, the process, and the people, values, beliefs, etc., one little piece at a time, because transformational change takes time in organizations. But we need to be transforming, and it's never finished. Our organizations will continually transform because we have to adapt to the continual changes in the world around us today. And again, showing up with empathy, helping people on the journey. And how do I, as a leader, support them? And how am I being conscious of what's happening for myself? Because these are hard. Change is not easy in our organizations today. But leading with empathy. And just a final point about the class, I mentioned mindfulness a few times. There's a lot of mindful practices in there, one of which is the leadership journal. And we ask people to support each other. So it delves into, and it delivers on the ICP LEA, the Leading with Agility certification from IC Agile, which is part of the Agility and Leadership track. And that's it, folks. I was asked to talk for 35 to 40 minutes. I've done 33. Questions?
Yeah, thank you, Shane. That's really interesting. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section there in Zoom. While we wait to see if anyone has anything, Shane, I was really interested to hear that bit about the benefit mindset, moving on from the fixed and growth, then moving on to the benefit mindset. I'm curious, what would you say is the guiding vision for it, shall we say?
It's acknowledging that we exist in an ecosystem. That ecosystem is its people, its community, its society, its planet, its environment. It's all of that. And that the things that we do have an impact. So if I've got a fixed mindset, I'm not prepared to learn. If I've got a growth mindset, I'm prepared to learn. I want to improve. If I've got a benefit mindset, I want to continue learning and improving. And how do I improve the ecosystem around me, not just me? So a growth mindset is great because it is the learning, but then how do I take that even further and make a difference in the ecosystem that I am a part of?
Right. So does that kind of then fit in nicely with, was it Josh Kerievsky's modern agile, that whole concept of make people awesome?
Yep, absolutely. And now we look at, so when Josh talks about the make people awesome, he does really go deep into just who do we mean by this? Who are these people? So yeah, some of the people are your customers, some of the people are your team, but then stepping outside, looking at that bigger community. So how can our organizations have a footprint in the world that is a positive impact?
So true leadership then is trying to go for the betterment of all. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And it sounds fluffy, but actually it makes a huge difference. Our organizations today should be stepping up to this. Now, there is a question in the Q&A about when is the class being run. 20th to 22nd of November. It will be 3 half days as a remote class. So yeah, please come along and register and book on that.
Do we have any other questions? There is another question there too, by the way, about the slide deck. Will you be making the slide deck available?
Yep. The PDF of the slides will be available. Here I'm going to have to ask Kate or somebody to say that I believe we'll be sending them out. I'm not 100% sure, but people who have registered will probably get those.
So we have your email. We know who you are, right? Hopefully you will get something with the details of downloading that.
Yep. Sarah answered, we will get them sent out. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, we have another question here from Tanya. What has been your experience with influencing upwards when you've got leaders who are not demonstrating a growth mindset, who are very closed off?
I've had some good experiences and some really hard experiences. And it is hard. This is one of the reasons why we talk in the class about the influence, leading with influence instead of leading with power. Because how do I influence people who are higher in the hierarchy in me that don't have a growth mindset? By example, by being, again, I'll quote Gandhi, be the change that you want to see in the world. And communicate why it matters.
But there's no silver bullet.
There's no silver bullet. Tanya, I wish I could say, here is the formula. There isn't one. But what we can give you is tools in your tool belt to at least have the communication. Tell compelling stories. Communicate the why. What is the benefit of the change that you're trying to influence?
It's the old with them, right? What's in it for me? Show
What's
them the value they will get.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I guess some people are still more closed off than others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions there. I guess this brings us to the end. So
yeah,
I'd say thank you very much, Shane. It was very interesting. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you on the course. As Shane said, the next one was, 20th to 22nd of November. So please jump in there and sign up. Please do.
Yep.
I'm hoping to be in there myself to find out what more he has to say. So thank you very much, Shane, and
thank you, Colin.
have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, folks, for joining us.